Hi everyone, this is Mary, you're in Mary Reads, and today we're going to talk about the books for the fall. I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations. I have 8 books here. 6 of them are going to be classical literature, and 2 of them are going to be from the modern authors. So if you prefer modern ones, stay tuned, and if you prefer the classics ones, then let's start from those. The first book is Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Probably everybody knows the plot. This is a story about a young gentleman who gets his portrait drawn, and when he sees it, he realizes how beautiful he is, and he says that he wishes the portrait grew old instead of him, and his wish comes true. And Dorian Gray understands that now he can do whatever he wants and with no consequences, because all the consequences are going to be taken by the portrait. So he starts leading a horrible life, and the portrait becomes his dark secret that he's keeping from his friends, from everybody he knows. And he's willing to keep this a secret any way possible, even if it means killing somebody. The second book is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This story is about a student of natural science, Victor Frankenstein, who decides to create a miracle and make a person out of the pieces of corpses of people. And when he succeeds, he realizes that he created a monster and he becomes scared of it. So he decides to go away and leave the monster on his own. But the monster finds him and asks Frankenstein to create a woman for him so that he's not alone. Because of how horrible he looks, because of how scary he is, people don't want to have anything to do with him. They're scared of him. They try to avoid him. So he has to live in forests. He has to come out only at night, and he can't make friends. Frankenstein agrees at first, but then he denies this request, saying that he's not going to create the second monster as horrible as the first one, and he has to face the consequences of such a decision. This story reminded me of the story of Adam and Eve, where a person becomes a god. Frankenstein is our god, and he creates his own Adam, a monster, and he decides his fate for him. The next book is short stories by Edith Wharton. It's called Ghosts. These short stories are going to be perfect for Halloween. If you're not looking for a huge book or a novel to read, this is a great option. And even if you decide to look for something new for this Halloween, this is a great option to read. These stories are not going to deeply terrify you, but they're definitely going to give you some chills and make you feel a little spooky. Pay attention to the story that's called Lady's Maid's Bell. It's one of her most famous ones, and see what else she can offer you. The next book from my recommendations is The Custom of the Country, also by Edith Wharton. This book tells us a story about Undine, a young woman who moves to New York to become rich and get a higher social status. I think this book is very similar to Sister Carrie, where Carrie also is trying to become rich, become famous, and who's trying to change her life. If you're looking for something similar to that novel, I think you should definitely try reading The Custom of the Country. Unlike Sister Carrie, though, it's set in the 20th century, but I still think it's a great way to see the New York of the last century and see how people lived back then. The next book is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. This book tells us a story of a young woman, Tess, who is leaving her home to escape poverty. She has heard a rumor that she is a relative of a rich family of D'Urbervilles, and she's gonna try and claim this connection. We will follow Tess through this journey, and we'll see how it turns out. Middlemarch by George Eliot is the next book that I think you should definitely read this fall. Here we will focus on the story of people who live in Middlemarch, a small English town. We will see a bunch of families and we'll follow each of their stories. The first one being Dorothea Brooke. She's a young and rich woman who lives with her sister and uncle. She's only interested in the intellectual fulfillment. She reads a lot. She's very religious. And for her husband, she chooses an old scholar, Mr. Casaubon. He's planning on writing a book that will explain how the world works, and she's hoping to be a part of this huge work, and she wants to help him. But when she realizes that he's not interested in her thoughts and that he's not doing anything to write a book, he's never getting closer to writing a book, she understands how disastrous her marriage is and that she actually needs something more than just intellectual fulfillment. We will also follow the story of Rosamund. She's a young, rich woman who also lives in Middlemarch, and she is trying to find a husband that will be a gentleman, that will be from a good family, and she wants to change her social status. That's why she marries a poor doctor, Dr. Lydgate. He's from an aristocratic family, but he decided to become a doctor and live a life differently from his family. Rosamund marries him, and then she realizes that he is not the person she was hoping he would be. The next book is Secret History by Donna Tartt. I've already talked about this book in one of my previous videos, but I think it's great for fall and you should definitely take it during autumn because I've read it in summer and it was not the best decision. I think that this book will be just great for a dark autumn evening when it's raining and cold outside and you can just stay inside and enjoy this amazing book. It tells us a story of 6 friends. 5 of them decide to kill one of their friends and they succeed, they do it. The story starts when 5 of the friends are standing and looking at the body of the friend they just killed. The book doesn't focus on the murder mystery. It's not a detective story as I thought when I was just taking this book. This story focuses more on how you get to committing the murder, how you feel after doing that. It's very much about the psychological side of this doing, and we will see how friends are trying to get through what they did, understand what they did, and maybe regret what they did. The book has a great fall atmosphere. It's a classic dark academia book, and it is set in a faraway college where this exclusive group of students studies Greek classics, and it is very, very atmospheric to read. Our last book for today is The Little Life by Hanya Nagihara. This is one of my favorite books of all times. I've read it twice and I will read it twice more. This book tells us a story of 4 friends who moved to New York in order to start their careers, find love. This book is very much about friendship, about love, about fulfillment, but it is also about physical pain, psychological pain. It's about abuse. There's a lot of scenes that are pretty disturbing. So if one of these topics are triggering for you, I would set this novel aside because a lot of these scenes are going to be pretty intense. The main character is Jude, and we will be finding out what happened to him, his story that he's keeping a secret from all of his friends. We're going to be finding out about this story throughout the whole novel until the end when we finally understand what happened to him. This book is great. It's an amazing, I would say, work of art. I think everybody should definitely read it. But again, if you have topics that can trigger you, like physical or mental abuse, you should probably also self-harm. You should probably put this book aside for a while and make sure that you're prepared to read it. And these were all of the books for today. Thank you for being here with me. Write down in the comments if you've read any of these books or if you're planning to read any of those. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.